What's up YouTube, it's Deanna from Windy City Vape Reviews and welcome to Vaping 101, Episode 1, Vaping Terms and Definitions. I am going to try to go quickly through some vaping terms and what their meanings are, and I will eventually get into them more in depth in later episodes, but for now we're just going to touch base on some terms and what they mean. So we'll get right to that right after the introduction. Okay, so you've been interested in vaping, but you are totally confused as to what is what and what they mean, and hopefully this video will help you have a little better understanding. When you first stop smoking or you are thinking of quitting smoking, most people, when they want to go to vaping, will start out on an Ego style or pen style. And this was my first vaporizer. I got this from Halo e-cigs, and this is their Halo Triton tank system. And it came with this little kit, and it does have a charger and everything. I have not used this in quite some time now. But basically this is what it is. This is what they would call the Ego style battery, and this is the Cartomizer. I don't even have a coil in here just because I have not used it in so long, but you just take the top off, and it has like this one has a 2.4 milliliter capacity. Basically it's just a 5-click on, and then you just press the button when you want to vape, and this would be what would be considered mouth to lung. And what mouth to lung is, kind of like when you're inhaling on a cigarette, you would inhale, draw it into your mouth, and then into your lungs. And like I said, this is what a lot of people start out with when they first start vaping. And the next type is a box mod, and there are several different types. This was my first technical box mod. This is the Inikin Coolfire 4. It is a 40-watt device, but there are so many different kinds of box mods. This is also a box mod. Box mod. Box mod. And box mod. Oh yeah, and this is a box mod. So you see they come in all different shapes and sizes. And then there's tube style mods. This is also a good beginner device. This is the Ego 1 XL. Also 5-click on. The kit comes with 2 different coils. It comes with I think it was a 1.0 coil, and it's a 0.5 coil. So the 1.0 coil would be above them, and that would be more for your mouth to lung. It does have kind of a small drip tip opening on that, and they do offer, it does come with also a glass piece that has a little bit wider drip tip on there, and basically the same thing. You just press the button, not a bad vapor production. I'm going to see if I can try to mouth to lung on this. What do you know? You can. This is the 0.5 coil in there, but like I said, it does also come with the 1.0 ohm coil, and I believe they may have come out with some for temp control. They do have temp control device now. I have not tried that because I went to the regular box mods. There's also, this is also a tube style mod. This is an unregulated mech mod with an RDA on there. Fire button is at the bottom, and pretty much just fire it up, inhale, that's it. And you have your variable wattage, variable voltage, and let's see, that's kind of like the e-leaf. You can see it shows the watts on there. You can change your watts. You can make them lower, make them higher. I can change it over to volts if you want to adjust your voltage. Most people go with the wattage just because it's a little more accurate. All of them pretty much have the same concept. When you want to take a drag, you hit the fire button, inhale, exhale. But I'm going to get into a couple more vaping terms for you. So, regulated and unregulated. You're going to hear that a lot. Regulated is something like the e-leaf iStick 100 watt, the Snow Wolf 200 watt, and various other ones, which means that you can control your wattage, you can control your voltage. Then you have the unregulated, which I showed you the tube style, but this is an unregulated box mod. It just has your fire button, and you just so basically you don't get to set your watts or your voltage. It kind of goes, this one kind of goes by what your ohms are on your coils. So then we have, there's Cartomizers, Atomizers, Clearmizers. This is a Clearmizer. They're usually like small tube style. I don't have any Cartomizers because I've never actually used them, but if you've seen like the blue e-cigs, there's a ton of other brands that have them. They're usually pre-filled cartridges that you just screw on and you vape it until it's empty, and they're disposable. And then these are the Clearmizers, and Atomizers can be anything from, basically they're all Atomizers. But this is an atomizer, this has an atomizer. Anything that will fire and produce vapor is an atomizer. This is what would be considered an RTA. That's another thing. There's RBA, RTA, and RDA. And I was like, what? So this is an RBA. It is basically a little coil that, oh, and it's very messy and dirty. I haven't used this in a long time. But you install the coil on there, and then you wick it yourself, and you then put it into the base of a tank and vape that way. And RDA is basically the same thing. You build on it, you wick it, put your juice on it, but this one you kind of drip your juice on, and then you just it vapes that way. The RTA, now this one has a deck that looks almost exactly like the last one I just showed you, but with this one it's inside of a tank, so you know it looks like a normal tank, but instead of using a pre-made coil, you're building your own coils and you're doing your own wicking. It saves a little more money. You can do a lot more as far as what types of coils that you use and the type of wicking that you use. So many different options. I know. This is why we're just doing the terms right now, and I'm just kind of giving you a glimpse, and then later on down the road we'll get down into them a little bit more in depth. And then above ohm and sub ohm. Above ohm just means any coil that fires above 1.0 ohms, and then sub ohm is anything that is below 1.0. For a lot of pre-made coils, a lot of them are going to be like a 0.5, a 0.4, a 0.3. When you start getting into, now they're coming out, I mean now it's vaping has changed so much, but now you can buy pre-made ones that are lower ohms, but they also have like the nickel and the titanium, and nickel are usually lower. I do have a nickel coil in my, oh my god, I just had a brain fart. My UL crown tank. So this is a nickel coil. It is reading at 0.16. And I have it at 515 degrees. It's kind of a new coil, so I'm slowly breaking it in and going up higher with the temperature. Now there's some controversy on the nickel coils, and that's something we'll get into in more detail later on. But as you can see, it can go pretty low. The lowest that I've done is on my 13 Heavens 9 Hells RDA clone. I have a 0.11 build in here. It is not a nickel coil. It's just a it's a hive wire made by Wotopo, and I did do a review on the different pre-made coils. So if you want to go take a look at that, I'll give you some up close and personal looks at, well, not. It's kind of just up close in the camera. So, Ma is your milliamps on your battery. If it's a pre-install, or a battery that does not come out, this one is, I believe, a 2200 mAh. It's been so long. I think this one was an 1100 mAh. And then, like this one is a 4000 mAh. So the higher your mAh, the longer battery life you're going to get. And then you also have mAh on your removable batteries. So, as you can see right there, it'll tell you what your mAh is on each battery. Like I said, the higher the mAh, the longer battery life you're going to get. So, amps. And this I'm going to kind of read because this is a lot of technical information that, some of it I'm still kind of learning and I don't completely understand. But when you hear amps, on the ones I just showed you, these say they are 35 amps. So, what is an amp? Sorry about that. Amps are a unit of electrical current, and then there's voltage, and that is a unit of electromotive force, the difference of potential that would drive 1 amp of current against 1 ohm resistance. We talked about the resistance on our coils. Those are the ohms resistance. Wattage, it's a unit of power equivalent to 1 joule per second, corresponding to the power of an electric circuit in which potential difference is 1 volt and the current 1 amp. Yeah. So, those are the technical definitions, but it doesn't have to be that difficult. Internal battery is just something like this, where you don't have to take the battery out. It has most of them have like the little mini USB ports on them. You just plug it in, and the majority of them do not come with a little piece that plugs into the wall, unfortunately. The Joytech did send one with theirs. My Halo did send one with theirs. This one did not even come with the little cord for it, but I have so many that, as long as it tells you input 5 volts, 1 amp, that just means that you should be using a plug that puts out at least 1 amp. I think that's how it goes. So yeah, I wish the companies would send the actual plug with them instead of you trying to figure out just what you have enough power to charge it. But external battery are the ones that I showed you in my e-leaf. You pop them out. There is an external charger. Some of the devices, like this one, you can charge it. It does have the USB port on it. I don't recommend charging external batteries in the device, even if it says that you can. there's just too many things that could go wrong. On external charging devices, a lot of them will have different protections on there, so if something goes wrong, it will, stop charging. Once the one that I have, once it's fully charged, it will actually stop charging as well. So there's more, again, we can get into later on down the road. So pre-built coils. This is a pre-built coil. This is a nickel coil for the UL crown tank. This is one that they sent you. It's already got the wire and the wicking. All you have to do is screw it into the RBA deck and you're good to go. The RDAs I showed you, that's something you build on. The RTAs, that's also something you build on. RBA would also be something that you build your own coils on. Some people love it. I happen to love it. I love to tinker with things, and for me, it's kind of relaxing just to sit there and build my little coils and put them in, and I can do my own wicking and everything. I don't have to worry that if my coil dies and I don't have any more, now I can't vape. I just pull the coil out, pull the wicking out, put a new one in, and I'm ready to go again. But I do like some pre-built coils, like the nickel coils for my crown tank. I think the crown tank performs better with the nickel coils. Personally, that's just my opinion. So a lot of your tanks, this is a good kind of beginner tank as well. This is the iSub G tank. They also have the iSub tank. Now they have the iSub Apex, and then I think the iSub S tank maybe. So there's many choices out there. But, once you start getting into like the sub-ohms, like even this is a sub-ohm tank. The TFV4 this is the TFV4 Micro, and I will be doing a review on this next week. These are more for mouth to lung. This is not the drip tip that came with it. I put my own on there. This is more direct to lung. I showed you kind of how a mouth to lung goes. Direct to lung is where you're inhaling and you're just inhaling directly into your lungs. And it's something, once you start getting into more of the sub-ohming and lower coil builds and higher airflow, it kind of just becomes natural to you. It's not something that you think about doing. It happens. So, now we're going to start talking about juices. So I just did a review on this juice. This is AZ Swag Sauce. This is the e-liquid. This is a Max VG. VG and PG are two of your primary ingredients in e-liquid, and then there would be nicotine and then your flavorings. So PG, which is propylene glycol, they describe it as a colorless, viscous, hygroscopic liquid. And this is something that they do use in some foods and I believe makeup. Just, there's other things that it has been approved by the FDA for, has been approved for consumption. VG, the vegetable glycerin, is a clear odorless liquid produced from plant oils. So, some people tend to have either an allergy to PG or a sensitivity to PG. I happen to be one of those. I wouldn't necessarily say it's an allergy. It's more, it starts to irritate my throat and I can actually feel it in my lungs. I do have asthma. It's not really bad. It's more what they call allergic asthma. When my allergies get really bad, then I tend to have asthma. So the PG seems to irritate that a little bit more. So that's why you can go with a higher VG juice or a max VG juice. And PG, if you go higher PG, it's going to be thinner. But flavor, they say flavor is usually better on it. VG is a little bit thicker, produces a denser vape, so more clouds, and sometimes the flavor, you might lose a little bit of flavor. I have not found it to be that big of a problem. Most of the max VG juices that I've tried, flavor is usually pretty good. and I make my own, and I do like a 70-30 blend if I'm going to do it in a tank. If I'm doing it for dripping, I might go, you know, 80-20 or max VG. This is the 70-30 one that I have made, and this is on my Vaporesso Gemini RTA. So good cloud production. Next thing you might hear is temp control. This is a temp control device. This is a temp control device. This is also a temp control device. These two, you can do nickel, stainless steel, and titanium coils or titanium wire. And this one is only nickel. And basically they say temp control, but really what you're doing is limiting the temperature. You're going to set it at a certain temperature. Once it hits that temperature, it's going to back it back down so that you don't get dry hits, you don't get burnt cotton or burnt wicking, depending on what kind of wicking it you're using. I happen to really like it. I think sometimes, depending on the e-liquid and the tank itself, sometimes you just get a better vape off of it. And okay, wicking. So I did show you the wicking on. This is what would be your wicking. It's what draws the juice up to the coils and then, you know, helps produce the vapor. And a pre-built coil, your wicking. A lot of them are going with the organic Japanese cotton now, and this little white part inside is your wicking. And that's basically, like I said, it just carries the juice to the coils and produces the vapor. Something else you might hear about is voltage drop. And what they say that is the amount of voltage loss that occurs through all or part of a circuit due to, I don't know if it's impedance. A lot of times you'll hear people say with their mech mods that there is voltage drop. And this is something that I'm still not completely understanding, because I am not an electrician. I really don't know. I mean, I've learned a lot about volts and watts and ohms and all that, and it's all because of vaping. I did not learn it in school. I learned it from vaping. And then throat hit. Throat hit is when you inhale. When you first start out vaping, most people want to feel that throat hit because it's the sensation that mimics smoking the most. And the pen style is great because it's the closest size to a cigarette. With vaping, it's a little bit different. It's never going to be the same as smoking, obviously. With throat hit, when you inhale, you kind of just get this, it's hard to describe it, it's a feeling that you get at the back of your throat when you inhale the vapor. Higher PGs tend to have a little bit more of a throat hit. Higher milligrams of nicotine tend to have a little bit more of a throat hit. So that's why I say when you first start vaping, and while you're, some people, I was one that once I picked up vaping, I just stopped smoking altogether. But there are people that will kind of do both at the same time. And then when you usually start vaping, you will start at a higher milligrams of nicotine. I happen to start at a 12. Some people do start at like a 24 and 18. But for me, a 12 was fine. I was about a pack a day smoker. I was a menthol cigarette smoker. And I really wanted that throat hit when I first started vaping, because I wanted that sensation like I was smoking a cigarette. Now that I've been vaping for quite some time, I don't like the throat hit at all. I want just a smooth vape. So if you hear people talk about throat hit, that's just what it means. It's just like the feeling at the back of your throat, like the closest sensation to smoking a cigarette. And like I said, when you first start vaping, that's what you want to feel. by the time you've been vaping for several months and you start getting into stub-bum, because trust me, if you're stub-bum vaping and you're getting a lot of vapor, the last thing you want is this really harsh throat hit because it's not going to be fun. So that is our first edition of Vaping 101. I hope I didn't ramble on too much, and I hope I didn't scare you away with showing you all the different things. Like I said, later on down the road, I will break them down one by one, and we will go over it in more detail. But that is all I have for today. I hope you have enjoyed this video. If you did, please give me a thumbs up, and don't forget to subscribe to find more vaping news and reviews and more Vaping 101. So until next time, I hope you have a great night, and keep calm and vape on.